Of course this and the flash-forward episode belong to my favorites of this season. I love that they really do make a great fuss of the wedding. Since we had all those preparations and heard long enough that this was covered by Daniel's and Margaux magazine. And I like her monologue in this, that her strongest move is surrender. Embracing the beauty of women's defense strategy. And of course the big photo shoot with this marvelous dress. I must admit that this one was my favorite since it suits her perfectly. And is far more spectacular than the actual wedding dress, but I guess she needed a more practical one for her stunt. All these ruffles would have not been compatible with jumping into the ocean. She would have sinking like a stone. Anyway, I love this little shooting with this very romantic but also very tacky swing with garlands of flowers. They made a lot of stills from this, so I will put in a little slideshow at the end of this episode talks, cause they are just so beautiful. They really look like a dream wedding. One thing I forgot, they stay true to their themes. Emily is wearing her diamond earrings with the infinity symbol again. And Daniel looks like she is only there as a supporting role. All the pictures have Emily in front and him in the background. About Lydia being back, that was something which really surprised me since I never thought about her again after Victoria resurfaced in season 2. I must admit I totally forgot that she was with her on that plane. By the way, I love Margaux' blue dress with those tiny little boats. A nice reference to this ongoing maritime theme of revenge. But as she makes her appearance first to Victoria and later to Conrad, we all were reminded why we should have missed her. It makes really fun to watch her being that nasty, and even more fun to hate her for her always improper behavior. Lydia is like the prototype of a mistress who has no proper manners nor wants to fake them for being polite. About Daniel, Emily and Sara. I like that they finally take advantage of these photos. Since they told us Margaux and Daniel's magazine would make a cover story about Emily and Daniel, I waited for a closer look on these photos. I know it is silly, but they are just looking gorgeous. No wonder that Sara feels like the loser. And Daniel is showing again how coward he is and how unable to make a decision of its own. I must admit what Victoria told Emily at the end of season 2 is true. Daniel does not make decisions for himself. He just lets the woman in his life, mostly Victoria and later Emily, decide for him. Within these episodes I am really torn with Sara. Later she is that annoying and nasty that I disliked her very much, but here I really admire that she speaks up for herself and does not want to wait till Daniel makes a decision. And it is good that she is not willing to be his affair. She knows that would only mean harm and much heartache for her Daniel and Emily, so she is forcing him to make it official, which is a smart move. Since he cannot hide behind Emily anymore. About Emily using the chance of Lydia's return. In this scene Emily shows how flexible she is. If we had only this scene with Lydia, it would have been worth it bringing her back. Emily just knows how to push the right buttons with these women. And even though Lydia tries to pick up a fight with her later, she just do not stand a chance. Again, someone who never got to react to Emily's true identity. Would have been interesting what she had to say about this. Sure, she would have been surprised, maybe even impressed how long Emily fooled her. But it would have been very unlikely that she would surprise by doing something out of character like showing remorse or apologizing to Amanda. Like Victoria, I am pretty much sure she never wasted a thought on that little girl whose life they destroyed. Anyway, Victoria's reaction to Emily's news was illuminating. She seemed to know right away that this was a lie. And I must admit it is an obvious one Daniel could have seen if he was not that blinded by Emily's fake persona. He never thought that she could be that manipulative and ruthless. And he is just beginning to see her true self, so he is just not able to see as clearly as Victoria what Emily is up to. About Emily and Lydia. I am torn with that plot too. I hated the story arc with that photo in season 1 and even more when it resurfaced in this season. On one hand, it was nice seeing that they tried this season to honor the first one by paying some tribute to the plot of season 1, but on the other hand it was kind of dull that Lydia could not let go of this leverage. Victoria already assumes Emily is a gold digger and only out for the Graysons' money and status, so why does she need this photo? And since this photo could also prove Emily's real identity, it is not a bold move bringing it up again? What if someone, namely Margaux or Lydia herself, had dig deeper? Then Emily's cover story would have been blown before the season's end. Anyway, I like this little emergency meeting with Nolan and Aiden. For those who have not seen season 1, they can retell the most important facts in an elegant way by informing Aiden. He does not know about all this and has to deal with Lydia. Nolan's quote was hilariously funny as always and on point, since Lydia fought Frank with a kick into his manlyhood. In double meaning, it could mean that Aiden has to be careful if she wants to hook up with him. By the way, I like the outfits of the three. They all are wearing a distinctive look. Nolan with his polo shirt and the tartan Bermuda. Aiden more serious but casual with his striped shirt and the blazer. Have I mentioned that I like his classic British look? And of course Emily's nonchalant dress in that beautiful blue tone. Those floating long dresses really underline how tall she is. About Margaux working with Lydia. I never understood why they had to cancel this storyline. Yes, Jack wanted to protect Margaux because everyone who knows about the conspiracy obviously lives in danger. And it had to be Emily who exonerates David because that was one of the main goals of her Revengenda. But would it not been cool if Emily and Margaux could have worked together on this? Emily could have contacted her in the same fashion as she did with Mason in season 1. By pretending being someone else and feeding her with information. Instead, Emily did not know that Margaux was investigating the David Clarke conspiracy and Jack did not tell her anything. Even Nolan did not talk to her about it. Which is odd since this is huge news. I guess she was so focused on the wedding that he thought it would not be necessary or of any help for her plan. Anyway, if you compare season 2 and 3, they were less of such loose ends and we had far more storylines and plots that did go nowhere in season 2. About Daniel's confused feelings. In this scene I felt very much sorry for him. He is so confused and does not even know how to feel. Bringing Sara back into his life was no good idea. Even Charlotte seems to understand that now. I must give her credit that she truly regrets what she has done and tries to make it right. Her idea giving Emily a special beauty treatment was nice. 'Cause that is the perfect gift for a nervous bride, getting time to relax and being pampered by professionals. Though Daniel's analysis is not exactly true. If you think back on his Voulez party, he was so angry at Emily that he said he could not marry her. So they had problems before Sara came into the picture. She just made him doubt his choice more. But the doubts were there before. About Emily bringing Daniel up against Victoria again. This was a bold move of her. I mean, what was her plan if they did go into the clinic and had a real ultrasound? Did she bribe a doctor to fake a prenatal exam? Or did she count on Daniel not paying that much attention? Anyway, him confronting Victoria was funny and sad at the same time. Funny because Victoria does not even know why he is so angry with her and cannot get 2 words in his rant. And it is sad because Victoria is more than ever right about Emily. And deep down Daniel knows it. His whole ranting and shouting seems to be his way to persuade himself that marrying Emily is the right decision. By the way, I love Victoria's look in this scene. This simple, very elegant pink dress is one of my favorites of her. She looks very feminine and almost like a girl in this summer dress. Her makeup and the open dark hair makes this look so perfect. About Lydia and Conrad. The most annoying thing about Lydia was her obsession with Conrad. In that flashback episode one could understand why she was under Conrad's spell because she was just a secretary and still young. But after all she has been through in season 1 and knowing that he tried to kill her, I just cannot see why she is still so in love with him and wants him back. She even risks her surely lucrative deal with Margaux for him. About Charlotte and Emily. Again a scene that is sweet and sad. Emily must feel terrible for lying to Charlotte. Even more as she already lied to her about having a nephew with baby Carl and not telling her that she is actually her sister. Not only her sister-in-law. Emily must feel the need telling her the truth even more than with Jack. And he already knows. Then the lie of being pregnant while Charlotte has lost her child. A lot of baggage for Emily. Mixed with the feeling finding no real ground with Charlotte. Since I have an older half-sister myself I know the feeling. It is strange when you were not growing up with the people you are supposed to call family. A strange mix of feeling not that much attached to them like to your actual siblings. And the need of being accepted by them as a full family member. About Emily's and Aiden's wedding preparations. I do not know if it is of any use that they do this, but I like that they are showing how much preparations goes into this. Emily really thought all this through. Too bad that with almost every plan there seems to be a loophole. In season 2 they failed very often. Here at least it was only twice I think. First this big fail with the wedding. Spoiler alert, then the unexpected death of Pascal assisted by Conrad. Major spoiler alert. And finally Victoria's little trap that cost Aiden his life. About Daniel breaking up with Sara. This scene is still beautiful and sad. Even though that I know how nasty Sara gets with Emily. I still think she was just used and manipulated by Daniel. If Sara had known the whole story instead of the tidbits Daniel let her know, I am sure she would have understood Emily. I live the scenery of the scene with the reflections of the water and all those shadows. Though it is pretty much annoying how noble they pretend to be. It is clear how much they both are still in love with each other. However, I am not sure if Daniel just loves the idea of loving her again. 'Cause if you think about it, his relationship with Emily was more intense and lasted longer than the previous one with Sara. So I think she is far more in love with him than Daniel is with her. He maybe likes that she is so naive and easy to manipulate. A pure contrast to Emily, especially after he gets to know the truth about her in the wedding night. The contrast between Sara, who has not much seen from the world and is easily to impress, and the socialite Emily Thorne could not be bigger. Anyway, in the scenes pre-wedding she seems like a nice girl, who tries to make it right and find the right path in life. It was very much mature of her giving Daniel free as she gets to know Emily is pregnant. Another woman would have given a damn about this and pursued Daniel further. So I was the more deceived by her behavior after the wedding. Not only that she begins an affair with a married man, something she said she would never do since she saw firsthand what that did to her mother. And her nasty behavior towards Emily was sometimes near the childish stubborn despite of a 4-year-old girl. I think what made the scene more sad was its romantic environment. Those hanging baskets and the lights made this a perfect spot for a romantic scene, not for a breakup. What I really hated, though I know it was for dramatic sake, was that he throws the necklace into water. Even more as we know through Emily and Nolan, who talked about it in the previous episode, how much this little necklace was worth. Yes, money seems to be no problem anymore for the Graysons, and especially for Daniel since he was born with a silver spoon. But did he really have to do this? I mean, he could have kept it as reminiscence like before. Or he could have given it to someone else, his sister, or sold it. Anything would have been better than wasting this beautiful necklace by throwing it into the ocean. Seems like someone of the writers was either a huge Titanic fan or drew his inspiration from the movie. 'Cause again I am reminded on that famous last scene with old Rose throwing the diamond necklace into the ocean. About Aiden's proposal. This was maybe the sweetest scene between the two and the best proposal. By the way, I am still not over it that we did not get to see Jack's proposal to Emily. Or hers to him if there even had been one. Anyway, after Daniel's big proposal in season 1 and Jack's very romantic one on the boat with Formanda, this is still my favorite. Because it is so fitting for them both. First, this ceremony that distracts Emily so he can make his preparations. I like the surprise moment for her and as the audience when it suddenly gets brighter because he lit all those candles. She looks so confused and surprised. I think she really did not expect him to do this. And I love his smile when she finally says yes. He seemed a little bit relieved as if he still was not sure about her answer. His little speech was just perfect because it sums up everything what they are for each other. With his end in mind, it is even more sad because he anticipates his own fate. I like how she makes him kneel to make it a real proposal. She is really the boss in their relationship. Perfect was of course that it is the first marriage proposal for real Amanda Clarke. I think since the beginning of season 2 when she told him he should not call her like that, it was the first time that he used her real name. About Aiden's ring. I like that this one looks old and is obviously not as expensive as Daniel's tacky engagement ring. I never liked this one with the big yellow diamond. Aiden's ring, which seems to be a family heirloom, looks much more suitable for Emily. Emily and Aiden in bed with their new passports. Now we know what Aiden wanted from Nolan, new identities and his help for the proposal cause. Obviously Nolan gave them his house as some kind of hideout. And when we saw him working on holiday lights earlier, it was to make the lightning more romantic. I like the idea that they are distant relatives of Nolan. So they would always have a connection to him. Not only as some kind of insurance that he can visit them without arousing suspicion. About Jack being honest with Margaux. I always wondered in season 4 if Margaux had known the full truth about her father and the whole conspiracy. Would she have gone after Emily still? Or would she have understood why Emily had to do the things she did to the Graysons and her father Pascal? 'Cause the things Jack is telling her are only the tip of the iceberg. Conrad and Victoria are responsible for so much more. And her father Pascal, as we will see, has a lot of sins and crimes on his list, too. Too bad that she does not dig deeper, but maybe she is herself afraid and does not want to admit it. Since later in that war between Daniel and Conrad she is watching firsthand what Conrad is capable to do to his own son. Spoiler alert, at least after Conrad killed Pascal. What Victoria surely told her she must have known what Conrad is truly capable of. About Emily and Daniel. Again a scene with beautiful lightning. I must admit the one who was responsible for this in season 3 did a very great job. Not that the other seasons are bad in that area. But we had a lot of scenes with this magic candle lights. And that is not easy to recreate on screen. The dialogue in this scene was not that special, but I like their physical performance here. It looks as if they are both searching hold by embracing each other. Emily because she needs strength to see her plan through, and Daniel because he is still not convinced that he is doing the right thing. About the last scene. This one is one of my favorite scenes with the carving on the veranda. The last time we saw it was in season 1, so again something they picked up again. I like that she seems to draw some kind of power by skimming over the symbol. As if she would charge her batteries. By the way, I love this white shirt of her. The floral pattern makes her again look very feminine and fragile. She is wearing a lot of white till the wedding. maybe to reassume her camouflage style from season 1, in which she wore those light tones to appear totally innocent and harmless. She surely thinks about her father right now. The more unpleasant that Victoria comes to disturb her. Funny that Emily is the first who shots by reminding Victoria of her stunt with the empty engagement box from the first season. And instead of putting on a fight, Victoria is untypical for her, admitting defeat. I wonder if she would have been so tame if she did not have Patrick as some kind of backup. Cause I am sure that it was neither her conversation with Charlotte nor Daniel that brought her to the conclusion that she should give up. And she could possibly not know that for Emily's plan her attendance was crucial. So she maybe just wanted to punish Emily cause she knew that Daniel would not be happy that his mother did not attend his wedding.